edition of The Final Whistle on nearmedia.tv, and delighted to be back again we have another person will be coming in soon anyway to join us, but for the time being, welcome Chris Price and welcome Joe Waters.
Evening.
Evening.
Now, don't forget to press the red button on the bottom right hand side to subscribe to our channel. It's free, and we're delighted with everybody up to now. We're going to start off with soccer as we normally do, lads, and a lot of stories. But before we came on air, we heard that Claudio Ranieri had been sacked by Watford football club less than 4 months in the job. Now, I'm saying my own opinion and my limited knowledge. Claudio Ranieri is a good manager. I think so. I think he is anyway. And what in the name of God are Watford doing? Chris, what do you think of this merry-go-round?
Watford are just basically panicking. That's just simple, and they've been panicking for the last 10 years. You know, they remind the club is run in a way like people who are trying to run a household budget, and they spend money they don't have, they borrow money they don't have, and then they expect miraculous results of what they have. They expect to pay their bills off, and this is exactly what happens. And this is a classic case of a club who, you know, they have to look at themselves, and that it's a time for the decision makers to be sacked, because we just did a count before on air there, and we reckon they've gone through 20 managers in the last 10 years. And that's just, I mean, how are you supposed to build anything on that? And they're just going to be known as a yo-yo club from now on, up and down, because and you know what? That's what they deserve to be, because, you know, somebody would always say, well, why is a manager going to go there? What manager worth his salt is going to go there? A manager who thinks he can get a 2 or 3 year contract at Premier League wages, whether it's 2, 3, 4 million a year, he's going to go, because he's going to get sacked anyway. So he might as well take the money and run, because that's exactly what the others have done.
And Joe, the problem with Watford now, like some other clubs on the bottom, is if you were a manager out of work, you certainly wouldn't be looking at a club like Watford for a job.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways to look at it, Pat. I mean, the first way to look at it is that you're walking into a job that's a Premiership job, and that's going to be on your CV for the rest of it. And that in itself gives you a foot in the door of 70 odd other teams, professional teams in England, not to mind anywhere else that would be looking for a manager come coach. You know, so I mean, and like Chris says, you know, they know going into it what the deal is, and they say, yeah, it'll be a good payday, even if it doesn't work out. You know, so that's the incentive for them. And if they do well, you know, we had the situation a few years ago. I forget who I think it was a Spanish manager coach that they had, Kiki Flores, I think it was. Yeah. He took them to the FA Cup final, where they were unfortunate enough to meet Man City in the final. And of course, there was only going to be one outcome on that one. But then, you know, the next year they struggled at the start of the season, and he's gone within 10 or 15 games. And then they bring him back, you know, another time. So they're really, I don't think there's any plan there. Claudio Ranieri is a friend of the owners, and that's why he came in and we came in. So, and of course he knew what he was getting into also. So, you know, it's just one of those things.
One soccer player today speculated that Martinez could take over, but I don't know. He's
at Watford. Oh, Jesus, no. He's better off staying in Belgium or wherever. He's better off staying unemployed.
Just, you know, the speculation.
I know.
He turned Everton down.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not going to go for Watford if he turned Everton down. I mean, he was at Everton before.
If you get enough money, you will. My maximum is if you get.
But I mean, I'm just looking at here now, and it just says that Claudio Ranieri has signed a contract till 2023, which is effectively a 2-year contract, at 52,000 a week.
Yeah.
Right. So he's been paid he's been paid $5.5 million for 12 weeks work.
Yeah.
Also, and I was going around the sporting websites today, earlier on today, and Luis Suarez is tipped to join Aston Villa on a one-year deal. I don't know whether that's true or not. We don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me because obviously the connection there with Steven Gerrard being the manager of Aston Villa, it could be true. I don't know, but what would you think, Luis Suarez? I thought he was a cracking player, goal scorer, still scoring goals. Would he fit in with
Yeah,
Aston?
but if you're Aston Villa, you know, do you really want to bring in Luis Suarez? I mean, the guy has been a good player, but he is coming. He's very much coming to the end of it.
Oh, he is.
What's the reason to bring him in? You know, is he going to get you a couple of goals? Maybe, but I mean, he's not going to be a centre forward that's going to start every game for you and play a lot of minutes for you. He's going to be a guy that comes off the bench. And with what seems to be happening at Villa now, they seem to be buying younger players. They're kind of gone the way that Leicester went with what they were doing, bringing in younger players and developing them from there and seeing what they can do with that. And I just see that, that's a step away from what they've got. I mean, they've already got Ings and the other boy that they got from Brentford, Ollie, what's his name? It's not coming to me right now, but he's a young kid that needs to be playing all the time. They paid good money for Danny Ings, so it's kind of like, really, is he just going there for another, like, a payday? I don't see what going to bring.
Yeah, as we're talking about the Premiership, for people who mightn't have heard it, might have been away for the weekend, Liverpool, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Wolves, Newcastle and Man U all won, and Norwich moved up out of the relegation zone, funnily enough. And the top four sitting this weekend are Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Man United. There you go. They're in the top four. I don't know, lads, about Man United are getting an awful lot of bad stake, and they haven't a great team, but they haven't a bad team either. What do you think, Chris? You see them at all over the weekend?
I kind of stopped watching them, and that's for my own sanity, because I just get the feeling that, I mean, I'm watching the club tearing itself apart. I saw the goal, with the way they celebrate that goal, as if it reminded me of probably the way they celebrated winning the European Cup in '99 with 2 late goals. It was kind of like that, the way they were jumping around the place, and that's a club on edge. That's supporters who are just watching through kind of their fingers. That's what it looks like to me. And the point that was made about all these leaks about what's going on in Man United, and it's actually coming. They reckon it's coming from someone who cares deeply about the club, like an employee. It's not coming from an agent. Because these agents damn well know that no club in the world will pay them anything near the salaries that they are currently on. Now, according to what I hear, Wreck-It Ralph, the new manager, has basically said that the likes of Harry Kane are not good enough to play for Man United, and then he was actually dropped for last Saturday's match. So maybe this guy, he's been kind of mocked a bit for what does he know, but he's been very successful in with the 2 clubs that he was with before in Austria and Germany. And everyone's going to say, yeah, but it's Austria and Germany, yeah. But sure, didn't Jurgen Klopp come from Dortmund, and he was a Mainz player before that, and everyone is now lauding German coaching. I mean, give it 15, 20 years ago, or when Joe was playing football, Joe would tell you that the only German that ever played football or was a manager in Germany or in England, excuse me, was Bert Trautmann, who broke his neck in the '56 Cup final, and there wasn't a German to be seen in English football for about 30 years.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Now, also, Brentford, as we talk about managers, just sort of in passing, Brentford signed up their manager on a contract until 2025, which I think is a good idea. I got to see the end of Match of the Day last night because of where I was with my dad, and I was watching the Arsenal 0-0 match, Joe. I don't know, did you see any of it? And
I did, yeah.
the thing that struck me, believe it or not, now I wound up not looking at the soccer. I wound up looking at the empty seats around the stadium, the huge swathes of empty seats around the stadium. And that is as serious as the game on the pitch. I'm talking about Arsenal there, Chris. I got the tail end of it last night. And that could pose a serious problem as well.
But there's another club. Sorry, Joe. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, I mean, people, you know, the only place that never seems to, well, the two places that never seem to lose their fans when they're not having the greatest of times seems to be Man United and Liverpool. No matter what they ever do, they seem to fill their stadiums. And to be honest, just speaking about Man United, and I'm a Man United fan, I thought Cavani was offside for the goal. I thought his head was ahead of the West Ham player's foot. And my understanding of the offside law is that if any part of your body that can actually score a goal is ahead of a defensive player, then you are offside. And there was a picture of it, and Chris, you might be able to pull it up if you get a chance. In the Daily Mail this morning, and it shows you. I mean, to me, it was the definitive look at how it was, and but you know that's neither here nor there. Now it's gone. You know, it's all done. But that's ultimately what caused Arsene Wenger to be sacked at Arsenal when fans stopped coming to the stadium.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's all well and good buying season tickets, but if you don't have your 50-odd, 60,000 people in the stadium buying your hot dogs and your burgers and your beers and your Bovril and your coffee and your tea and then your hospitality suite.
The merchandising.
Yeah,
See,
that's all that's going to make the difference right there.
See, I'm actually looking at it now, and you can actually see that Cavani's head looks to be in front of the West Ham defender's foot. You know, it's the way it's leaning, but it's I mean, it is marginal. I actually do think when I saw it, hey, he's offside, and that's the natural eye. You know, and I will always go by what the natural. I think that I'm not convinced that the lines that they're drawing are 100%.
Yeah,
I have a graph of one player I saw last night in Match of the Day, and I was delighted to see him. He came on as a sub. He had bad luck with injury and all that, but I always liked him as a player. I don't know, as I said, I'm not an expert at soccer. He might laugh at me. Is Danny Welbeck? He scored for Brighton.
Oh, what a great goal!
And I thought, now there's a player I like. I don't know. The demeanor of the man was just so happy to be back on the pitch. And they were on two subs, Welbeck, and I forget the other chapter on, but he ran right down the wing. You know, he just was a ball of energy for Brighton. Was that Lamptey that they brought on? I think so.
The little African guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Lamptey. Small guy. Yeah. He was.
The two of them came on together. And they seemed fantastic understanding because ball went from him to him without even looking. And I thought, you know, it just I think, I don't know, sometimes players go to a big club like Man United or Liverpool, and really, I know it's a stupid thing to say, it doesn't suit them, their personality, whatever it is. I don't know really, but I hope Welbeck could have a few more years down there at Brighton, and we wish him well because I liked it. I liked to see him doing that, you know. So
I actually thought Danny Welbeck was a fine player for United. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be totally wrong on it, but I think his time at United came to an end when Louis van Gaal was there. Van Gaal didn't like him.
Right.
I think Van Gaal got rid of Johnny Evans as well, because Johnny Evans wasn't the footballing playing centre back that he wanted. And you know, I just think that United let a lot of really good players go at that time that were as good or better than the than the guys that they brought in.
Joe, I'd forgotten about him. He's a fine player. He proved to be a fine player, Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
No, I'm afraid your own club slipped up 2-1. You probably saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were home with Bromley are no means. They were talking about Grimsby Town. But I hope they're not too far off. I was looking, they're not too far off. They're only 5 or 6 points off the playoff.
That's the thing that keeps them going. But it seems to be that we have a very one-dimensional team, and if you take McAtee out of it, he seems to be the guy that scores the goals and makes things happen for them. If you take him out, there seems to be very little else going on, and fans are becoming a little bit disillusioned with the manager and his tactics. So
they have 22 games played. They have 44 games, lads. Listen to me now.
Yeah.
They have 44 games to play. We're talking about the National League in Britain. They have 44 games to play, and if that wasn't enough, then they have a potential 4 to 6 more games to play to get out of it.
Right.
If you go through the different permutations at the end without getting too complicated. They have upwards of 48 to 50 games to go in the National League before they get up into Division 2 or the old 4th Division. I tell you, it's a tall order for amateur football. It's tough going,
It is very tough going.
It is, yeah. We touched a minute on the Crash Bang Wallop, Rugby Union, Crash Bang Wallop. Now, Munster, my colleague here in the room with me, the back of the room, he was looking after the women going into the corporate boxes yesterday. He did a great job and putting on their makeup. He was saying he's putting on their makeup at the Munster match. But they had an easy win, like Munster, 45-7. So Jesus, Wasps must be poor. You can only beat us in front of you. But they're into the last 16 of the European Cup, where they will meet Exeter. Chris, what do you think of their chances now against Exeter?
They'd be hard to beat. Exeter would be hard to beat. Let's be fair. They're one of the probably the better teams, and they're new onto the scene, really. So they want to win trophies. I think, to be totally fair, I think this European Cup this year is in disrepute. I think the way they've handled the postponements and the COVID matches and all that has been appalling. And I think some of the attitude of some of the French and English teams when they've lost 1 or 2 matches, it's, I have to say, if it was a horse race, the stewards would be in.
No, they would, yeah.
The stewards would be in of a horse race, because I'm not sure there's betting patterns on this, but I definitely feel that with some of the selections that the team and some of the scores, you would definitely get the impression that there's a lot of kind of deliberate losing going on here just to get out of the competition. And when you have a situation like that, then that's bringing the competition into disrepute. And I watched it. Did
Leinster win a match 89-7?
Yeah. And Leinster actually were, they had a match given 28-0 because of COVID cases, and they actually had a team to travel and weren't allowed to travel. Yet, because of a decision made by the French government, English and French matches were postponed, but were allowed to go as 0-0 draws. The subsequence of that was that those matches were 2 points each in the league table, while Leinster lost 4 points. Now, in the end of schemes, it didn't matter because Leinster qualified. But the point is that, what's a postponement and what is a COVID kind of match where you lose the points. And the second thing which is important is that when you look at what Leinster have done in the last 3 matches and scored 30-odd tries, then you kind of wonder, well, what's the other teams at?
Well, Leinster won, George. You're saying Leinster won 64-7 just to finish off. And
I read in the paper. Yeah. I didn't see it. They didn't have any the rugby matches on this weekend here.
Don't blame
them. I read about the Leinster one, and I read about
Leinster scored 156 points in 2 games, lads.
Yeah.
really and truly, just had to get your head around it. This is shocking. It's shocking scoring. Stade Francais 37, Connacht 31. Connacht were very unlucky, actually, not because they're an Irish team, but they were very unlucky to lose that match at all. Because obviously, as a result of them losing that, if they had scored another penalty, they wouldn't be meeting Leinster in the last 16, but they are meeting Leinster in the last
Pat,
16.
I think the important thing to know about what the way, and this is the way the fans feel about it now, right, is that on Friday night when the Irish government, released or relaxed the rules about how many can go to a match, Munster put up 11,000 tickets on Friday night. And when you looked at the attendance at that match yesterday, I don't know what the official attendance is, but I'd be honest with you, I've never trusted Munster's official figures for the last 10 years anyway. I think they're doctoring that what they're saying is that they're going by the amount of tickets that are sold, not the amount of people that actually go through the turnstile. And I think that is extremely misleading. And I actually do feel that it contravenes the Health and Safety Act. If there was a major incident at a match like that, how are and they said, well, we've got 15,000 people in the match, but no, you haven't, lad, you've only got 4. Yeah, but we sold 15,000 tickets. But that doesn't make the point. It's the amount of bodies that are in the stadium that counts for risk assessment. And for them to turn around, and I've been to some of these matches where there's been no more than a cat and a dog at it, and they tell us there's 15,000. And I have a brother-in-law who works for the civil defence, and he knows himself that the figures are not right. And the main point I'm making about this is that Munster did put 11,000 tickets on Friday night, and they didn't sell because people are looking at them thinking, actually, Munster's going to win that anyway. Keep our money in their pockets.
Yeah, and first time the 4 provinces are in the last 16. That's 4 teams from Ireland. There's 7 teams from France in the last 16, and there's only 5 left in from Britain. So there we go. I don't know, is that tournament as attractive, Joe, as it ever was? I don't know, really. I don't know. Is it really working?
I think, I think when it changed from the Heineken Cup, it lost a little bit of something. And I don't know what there was some change that I'm not sure that happened. But, to Chris's point, what he's talking about, that's been the case everywhere you go. When the crowd is released, they release the numbers based on season tickets.
I know. And
corporate tickets that they've sold on top. So that's why they keep their things so attractive to people. They say, well, there was that many people at Tooman Park. But we all know, I mean, I've played in games here in the States, in the Tacoma Dome, that holds 22,000 people. And they're saying that there was 12,000 people at the game, and there wasn't 500. So you're looking up, you're going, hang on a second, where does this come from? So, they always inflate it for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't see the Munster match. I didn't see any rugby, actually, because my dad had the soccer. I didn't see any rugby over the weekend, only catch up on the scores and the reports today. So look, we wish all the provinces the best anyway in the last 16. And good to see Zebo back again. He got 2 tries, new record and all. He's breaking all records, and he's 31 only. So maybe he might, if he got a little bit fitter, he might make. I don't know. I don't think he'd make. He didn't make the Irish team. He made the panel all right, did he, Chris?
Who's this?
Is Zebo on the panel?
No, he won't play for Ireland again.
No, but he's on the panel for the Six Nations, was he?
Is he on? I didn't hear if he was on the panel, but if he's on the panel, he's doing well to get
check that out. We don't know that.
I checked out. I haven't heard, to be totally honest with you.
But the Six Nations will be starting in 2-3 weeks' time, and what interest is there? Ireland playing in Scotland, Wales, and France. I mean,
what do you mean?
It's got to go around.
But it's been like that every year for the last 100 years, Pat.
I'm just thinking. We were talking about it today, actually, myself and my man here in the studio with me. We were saying they should have something like a tier 1 and a tier 2 competition. You have teams like Russia, Georgia.
No.
Japan's
not in Europe.
As a tier 2 team.
No.
You have Italy, who are hockeyed every year by all the teams.
Yeah, okay. Your point you're making is the first thing you mentioned at the beginning was, why do we play this every year? You could say the exact same about the English League. Okay, you could say that about a lot of competitions. You could actually say that about men's tennis for the last 15 years. There really has only been 3 winners. You could say that about nearly every sport, right? The reason why we play it is because we're That's the way it is. I mean, if you want to say that, why do we play an All-Ireland Championship for the last, say, 100 years when there's been Cork, Kilkenny, and Tip that have won 90% of the trophies? It's because we want to see a Clare, we want to see a Wexford, we want to see a Limerick. Okay, that's the way sport is,
I suppose so.
and that's the way it is. And it's nobody's. The only look, Italy showed promise when they first came, right? The problem is with Italy is that rugby is not a strong sport there, right? They try their best. Yeah, they've only got 2 clubs, and the majority of those players are coming from outside Italy to play, right? And that's the biggest problem Italy have. Okay, for your point about putting Russia, Georgia in that, okay, you may have a second tier, but if you think that any of these teams are going to do better than Italy in the Six Nations, forget about it.
I know, Joe, are you excited about, do you watch much rugby yourself?
I do. I watch the international matches when we get them on live TV every so often. But, like Chris is saying, there's always something that you can take from, like it used to be It used to be the 4 nations at one stage: Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, and then and France came in, and then Italy came in. But it was always the Triple Crown, and even if you were out of the Triple Crown back in the day, you always look forward to ruining either Wales or England's Triple Crown by beating them. And that's the beauty of the competition. It doesn't matter how good they are. You always make somebody else's misery your happy day. And I think we did the same when we played. I think we played England. I think I'm not sure if it was Twickenham, or they played a game at Wembley one day against Wales, and Ireland played England, and they had to beat them 63-0 or something like that to win the Triple Crown. And the commentator says it doesn't matter about the 60. All we want to beat them by is 3.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, But just beating them is the thing with it.
I suppose you're right.
And that's what gives you, that gives you the thing for next.
You could contrast your story, Chris. You're dead right about other sports when people are dominated. For instance, and I'm going to tie it up now with the tennis that's going on in Australia. Elise Carney, 31 years of age. She's played and entered 63 Grand Slams. And she made the quarterfinals for the first time ever in Australia. Now that's a nice story.
That's what we want to hear. That's what we want. That's what we want to hear. We want to see people win at sport. And there's an old saying, Pat, what's rare, what's seldom is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And when Cork win the All-Ireland final in hurling the next time, it'll be so rare, it'll be beautiful for you people too.
Well, when they will.
If they win, Pat.
I don't know where I will. It'll be very soon, but there's a chap playing in Australia, and I think he's Canadian, and he's into the quarterfinals of the men's. Agur Aliassime.
He's good. He's good. Felix. He's good.
I tell you, he's impressive.
He's good. He got the semi-final of the US Open last year. He's tasty. He's decent.
Oh, he's a tasty player, and I'm sorry I didn't have my £2.50 on him, but there you go. You can't be lucky every day. Our never aging Tom Brady is at it again, Joe. He's broken all records. I mean, Joe Montana. You remember Joe Montana?
Yeah.
Joe Montana. That's the man that turned me on to NFL for the very first time. I was in my brother's house in Cork. He said, I didn't know anything about NFL. And all the lads in the house were into it. Because we up late at night. He said, you have to watch these, the San Francisco 49ers, Joe Montana. And it was only the highlights just as well. But still, there was something magic about him. I mean, when he got the ball, he couldn't be touched. Obviously, that was because of his team. But he could throw a ball anywhere. Pinpointed. And Tom Brady is the second man I saw doing that. 44 years of age. He's 43 passing touchdowns, and Joe Montana, who's considered one of the best ever, had only 19.
Well, I'll tell you who's going to be what I think he's got. If it depends, you can never tell, right, on how long a career can last in any sport, especially American football. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, he is some
The
workaround.
real deal.
I
Oh,
think he reminds me of the Seattle guy that had a couple of years ago, Russell
Wilson.
Wilson. He's just he
Oh,
has
yeah, I
that
forgot about him.
he has that swagger about him. But the way I didn't see it last night because it was in it was the graveyard shift last night. But
Yeah.
apparently it was such a wild game against the Buffalo Bills.
It was a brilliant game.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant game.
and it was just anytime they got the ball, they were going to score. That's what it looked like.
Well, the 3 games that I watched this weekend, the Buccaneers versus the Rams, and you're talking about a feel-good story about that. But I mean, it was a great game. It came right down to the last plays of the game. But there's a guy playing for the LA Rams. His name is Cooper Kupp, and he is probably right now the best receiver in the NFL.
Go in.
And look him up when you get a chance. His mother played soccer with my wife in college.
Go in.
Yeah, and her.
Hey Joe, we'll need tickets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
Joe's wife is first in the queue there, I think.
Yeah. So they were on the same soccer team, and they're friends on Facebook. And when Cooper went to high school, graduated from high school, was not taken out of high school into college. Didn't get a look from any college team throughout the country. So he went to Eastern Washington University, and or he went somewhere else first, and then he transferred to Eastern, I think, and his wife moved with him. He was working a job in construction and walked onto the football team. So he was having to work construction and still try and make football work as well for him.
Yeah.
And his wife got an extra job, and she said, "No, you're not going to work anymore. You're just going to concentrate on football." Well, he goes through with Eastern, has a great career there, sets records there, and then gets drafted by the Rams. And he has turned out to be like something else. He's a captain on the team right now, and he scored a great touchdown yesterday. And just a great family.
Well, I was reading,
and very modest and the whole thing. So we're obviously rooting for them. But all the games.
Where's he from, Joe? Where's he from originally?
I think he's from Seattle, Tacoma area.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what I think he graduated from Yakima, high school in Yakima.
Yeah. Now, the tips I was reading today, the tips to win, to go on and be successful with the whole thing. The 6 teams they picked out, I know the 6 teams, was the 49ers, Kansas City, Tennessee, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Dallas.
Yeah. Well, I think the win is going to come from, I think, the Bills versus Kansas. I think Kansas will win it this year. I just think that
You're going for Kansas City.
I am going for Kansas because I think when you've got a quarterback that who has the potential to score at every drive. However, I'm going to give a little bit of a caveat to that, right? And this is and when it comes to this level of sport, it's the team that makes the least mistakes will win. And normally the team with the best defense is the team that makes the least mistakes. So by going down the way the Rams played last night, they're going to be hard to beat. But I mean, it's just you've got to sit. You've got where it's very rare that you've got probably the 4 best teams in the court in this. For what is the best way of saying it, semi-final stage. Any one of the 4 could win, but I'm going to stick my neck out with Kansas basically because if the chips are down, they could do a drive. They could do a drive.
Kansas get the because the Kansas game went to overtime.
Yeah.
And what actually happened was that Buffalo, the Bills went ahead, and then Patrick Mahomes, the Bills went ahead. Patrick Mahomes works his magic, and they go ahead. Then the Bills tie it up, and it's a coin toss that determines who gets the ball first. Whoever wins the toss. And that was it. The Chiefs marched down and kicked the field goal. And that was the end of it. But, you're talking about mistakes in this. When Cincinnati played Jacksonville on Saturday, right? The quarterback for Cincinnati, Sam Burrow, got sacked 9 times. Never turned the ball over, but he got sacked 9 times by the Jacksonville defense. Yeah. Jacksonville quarterback Ryan Tannenbaum threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Go with it.
And Sam Burrow became the second most sacked quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a playoff game.
Yeah, because he didn't turn over the ball.
He didn't turn over the ball. He took the sacks like a man and folded himself up and kept the ball for his team and maintained it. And then he drove down the field for a rookie kicker to kick the winning field goal. So that was a great story.
So who are you tipping, Joe?
Who do I think? Well, Green Bay is out of it. Green Bay got beat by
the 49ers.
Yeah.
I was debating before.
That was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought it would have been possibly Green Bay and the Rams or the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, I watched Chiefs and they were so good. They were just absolutely they were terrific. But so were Buffalo.
You're on the same page as Chris, is it?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to be hard to beat. Chiefs are very good defensively as well.
I'm going to trust my man to do one last one before he retires.
Who?
TB, Tom Brady.
He's doing it next year. You won't be doing it this year. He's doing it next year. He's gone, sure. He's doing it next year. You must have been watching the 1965 version or something like that last night.
No.
What? Sure, he got beat last night. What match were you watching last night?
No, that was only. Were they beaten last night?
Oh dear God! I love your research again.
Jeez, yeah. I didn't look at that result.
Yeah, I think you might have to edit this whole program.
No. I was reading about Tom Brady himself. That's a diverted.
He's gone, Joe. I actually do think, and the young lad showed me the last quarter last night where he was sacked 3 times in the last quarter last night, and he looked like a guy that is he needs this now. There was a couple of times when he got the ball, he backed off and threw the passes. No one's doubting him throwing passes, but if he's in a tight corner, he doesn't seem to have the agility to get himself out of a tight spot. Well, and that's where the sacks came from.
And I saw one game. I saw Tennessee Titans playing a few times, Joe.
Yeah.
Have they any chance?
Not this year.
No, they're gone as well.
They're gone.
I'll tell you what. We'll send you the memo. We'll send you the memo tomorrow, next week. All right.
Cincinnati beat them on Saturday.
And the 49ers.
The 4 teams left are the Rams versus the Chiefs and the 49ers versus Cincinnati. Are the Rams playing? I haven't seen the.
I'll tell you what it is now. The Rams are playing the 49ers in the conference final, and in the other one, it's the Bills versus the Kansas Chiefs.
Chiefs versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, but the talk about the Green Bay Packers was that there was a lot of controversy before the match because Aaron Rodgers, and when I saw the score on Sunday morning, I was going, well, I'm not damn surprised, because all there was talk about during the game was Rodgers saying how the 49ers was my boyhood team and they never picked me in 2004 when I was going for the draft and all that. And I'm thinking, why is he opening his mouth?
Right.
Yeah.
And I just saw that, and I just thinking this guy is starting to have a bit of a. It's going to be on his mind, and sometimes when people have things on their mind, they try too damn hard. And now I didn't see the game, but when I saw the score, I'm thinking this. If it's going to be an edgy game, and the scoreline detected it was an edgy game, I just get the feeling sometimes, coaches will say what, and there's an old saying, coaches will always pin what other people say about you on the dressing room wall before you go out. That's what he's saying about us.
And so you would give the 49ers an outside chance.
I give any of the four an outside chance because there's only four of them left, and they're all good teams. And as I said earlier, it could be a great offensive team, or it could be a dogged defense. That could win it to you.
Well,
but it's going to be interesting because the 49ers and the Rams are in the same division.
Yep.
They've already played each other twice this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that one.
That'll be very interesting, all right?
Yeah.
Two cracking matches.
Yes, they are going to be very good matches. Very good.
Now, Team Ireland, I saw today, Team Ireland are sending 6 Olympians to the Winter Olympics. Believe it or not, 6 people to the Winter Olympics. Just in passing interest for people to know that. You can look it up online. You can see all the. We'll be in the luge. We'll be in the speed skating. Whatever, I don't know. I'm not familiar with all the disciplines in the Winter Olympics. I must admit, it's on from the 4th. But I say, it's on the 4th to the 20th of February. There you go, lads. 3 weeks of it, 4, whatever, of the Winter Olympics.
I love the Winter Olympics. I think it's good crack. You can't. I think. Listen, I love watching the skiing. The way I look at it is okay. It doesn't hold an interest for a lot of people around here because we don't have winter athletes. Okay, but you know what? When you look at it, and sometimes it's not a bad idea because you can go in with an open mind and watch it. And I actually like watching the skate, the downhill skiing. I like, and I like the bobsleigh and stuff like that because they're tough sports to do. It's raw, and you don't hear about these guys. They're not a lot of these guys are, they sacrifice a lot. They spend a lot of their earnings, or they've got to work 1 or 2 jobs, or whatever. These are a throwback to the Baron de Coubertin days of what the Olympics should be about. And even the ice hockey this year is going to be different because there's no NHL players, so it may not be of same quality, but it'd be guys who'd be busting a gut to maybe try and showcase their skills for a contract. You don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, well, the Olympics would be ideal for that. 4th to 20th of February.
Yeah, it's a great competition. Great competition.
I love it. Did you see any golf over the weekend? I saw a lot of it myself.
I watched. I found that this week's golf was very infuriating. I found. Look, McIlroy just cannot get 4 rounds together in a row. All right.
Well, I believe his head is up his arse. He's all over the place. He's talking too much to the media. He's taking out. Do you know something? A professional golfer, in my opinion, like McIlroy, since you brought him up, after 4 rounds of golf, to come out with a statement, the first thing when he was being interviewed was, I was delighted to be here for 2 more days to iron out a few more things. He's playing in the HSBC golf tournament, a big one. And that is his level of interest. I was glad to be here this Saturday and Sunday to iron out some of my problems. What planet is that golfer living on?
I'll tell you what planet they're living on. They're living on a bank account planet, because when you look, you look at Shane Lowry, right? Shane Lowry had a disastrous final round. Okay, he had a disastrous first tee. Yeah, he came 6 shots away from the winner, and still earned $120,000.
Yeah,
so when you can say, Pat, where are they at? That's where they're at. That's where they're at.
Well, Peters won in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, was it?
Yeah.
Peters won at -10, which was a low. Carrington was -4, 73, 71, 68, and 72. Shane Lowry had 67, 72, 67, and then, lo and behold, a 77, -5. McIlroy had just made the cut by birding the 18th on Friday, 72, 75. 67 and
But he's
60.
all gung ho, Pat. He's all gung ho. He has one crap round in about the first 2 or 3, and then he comes out like a gunslinger, shooting at everything. And then he basically throws the whole kit and caboodle at it. And that's what happens. That's what happens.
Yeah, I didn't look it up. He's only 4 majors, I believe, is it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Corey Harrington is 3.
Yeah, and
Well, isn't that what Greg Norman used to do? He played the first 3 rounds
Gung-ho,
and he'd be
yeah.
out of contention. And on Sunday, he'd shoot an unbelievable round and just miss out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, that was the story of him. He could set a course record on Sunday and he'd be like the rest of us hacking around the thing for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Mhm.
You know, so it's, I mean, McElroy said on this particular week, he said, I've never been so happy to get off a golf course in my life.
Go away.
Yeah.
That's the
he said
statement I read from him
That's
in the
correct.
paper. I've never been so happy to get off a golf course in my life.
The other tournament in America, and the American Express, Seamus Power from Waterford shot a -14 round, 65, 69, 66, and 74.
He went mad. He blew it up. He had a bad start. He had a bad start in the final round.
$40,000 to his name.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Seamus Power, right? He's gone up now for even when he had a bad day yesterday, right? He still gets 140 grand. So this lad has won $750,000 in 3 weeks. He has now gone up from say 75, where he's now 47 in the world. He moved up 2 places this weekend. And do you know what he's going to do? The way if he keeps going, if he has 1 or 2 more decent rounds or decent competitions before the end of March, he's going to knock out Shane Lowry from the Masters.
I was looking at that. I was hoping that we'd have 3 Harrington, Lowry, and Power at the Masters, but
no, you're not. You may have 2 out of 3, but I think you may either Power or Lowry won't make it because Lowry's not playing well enough, to be honest with you. That's why I'm looking at it.
Lowry's in 49th place, and as you said, in 47.
Yeah. I tell you one thing that's I got a bit of an eye opener, and it's pity Derwin wasn't here because I went through the schedule. The first couple of what they call the desert swing that's on over in Dubai and Abu Dhabi for the next few weeks, the prize money is similar to what they get in the States, £7-8 million or dollar pots. But when you look at the tournaments that are on in Europe in the middle of the year, take out the Irish Open, take out the Scottish Open because they've been kind of designated USPGA tournaments. But if you look at some of the other tournaments that are going around, the prize fund for the entire field is sometimes between 1 million, 1.5, 2 million, 2.5 million. And what that's going to have is that it's going to mean that an awful lot of players, it's going to have a very diluted European tour field. And what's going to happen is a lot of these guys, if they're going to try and get the tour card in the States, and if they get to the States, they're gone from Europe for good.
Oh, yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's what's happening. We've seen that before. We were talking about VAR at the top of the show. As we finish with VAR, if you don't mind, is the last survey that was done with a sample figure in Britain of 33,000 participants. What was the percentage that supported VAR among soccer people now in Britain? 33,000 sample. What percentage?
I would say maybe 30% supported.
I say less than 25.
You're both near 26% and 74% a resounding no.
Yeah.
So,
you see, and there's 3 words in what VAR was supposed to do, which is the reason for that percentage. And that's the words clear and obvious.
Clear and obvious, yeah.
And it's because a lot of decisions being made are not clear and they're not obvious. And that's the problem.
When it takes 4 minutes and 20 seconds to make a decision, that's a lot of time, isn't it?
Well, I think the problem that you have, unlike rugby, I mean, if Nigel Owens, the Welsh rugby referee, was doing a soccer match, he'd have told the VAR official in soccer to go do one, because basically you can't. They're chirping in the ear, telling them you need to look at this, you need to look at that, and then they're saying, well, what am I looking for? Give me 15 minutes and I'll tell you what I want you to look at. And you can't officiate a match like that. And a referee, the referee, and this is what we've been brought up, and Joe, as a professional footballer, would know that the referee is the official arbitrator of the game, and he's like an editorial. He's like a newspaper editor. The editorial decision rests with them, right? They are the sole arbitrator of the game, right? Now, when you come up with a decision that's been made, and a referee then decides to overturn it, not because of what he saw in the match, but because he's being led down a certain way by, and the point that was made today, by slow motion. And slow motion doesn't give you the speed of the game, right? That when you see decision being overturned, you wonder who actually is the referee. Is the referee the guy in the studio, or is the referee on the field? So therefore, if the referee is the guy in the studio, what is the purpose of the guy in the field? Just to time keep.
Yeah. We'll give Joe the last word on VAR, Joe. Really, Joe, you know my opinion. I'm tired of saying it. It should be scrapped.
Oh, I am not a fan of it in any way, shape, or form. And I think, you know, what Chris says, a lot of it is very, very true. And it sometimes feels like that when you're watching VAR, that they're going back further and further and further to find something that happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be immediate. You know, and I'll tell you, I was disappointed in Kevin Friend with the Liverpool decision on the penalty. I mean, he went over and he looked at it on the monitor. And are you telling me that he cannot see that he got that right 100%, that it wasn't a penalty? It wasn't even. It wasn't even a foul.
No, it wasn't.
Jota runs into the goalkeeper to con the referee, and the referee didn't buy it to start off with. But then VAR gets in his ear and he goes, "You need to have a look at this. You need to have a look at that." He goes and has a look, and then changes his mind that it's a penalty. But if you watch it on the TV, it's clear that it was not a penalty. That
I think before you finish, and I think Joe may agree with me here. I think when you say, Joe, that the VAR referee is saying to the actual referee, you need to have a look at that. We don't know the actual words being said. And I think it may be time to do what they do in rugby, actually listen to what the TMO and the referee actually say. Because then you're going to say, right, so what is this VAR assistant referee's actual decision-making process?
Right. Yeah. And there you go. Right there, and then everybody knows what's going on.
Because of what we're listening to the conversation. So then we can go and say, hang on, that's wrong. He can't be saying things like that or whatever. He's leading up a garden park there. We need to know exactly like what we all know that rugby does have its flaws with TMO, but the TMO is a lot better in rugby. Let's be straight about it. But at least we actually hear the conversation and we know where they're going, but we don't in soccer.
Precisely, right. Joe and Chris, lads, on a positive note, we're not anti anything. We're just theorizing because of serious misgivings about it. But that's it. Hopefully, as I said, the majority of soccer matches take place every weekend, every week without VAR, and there's no big colour below. From this edition of the Final Whistle, from Joe Waters there in Seattle, thank you, Joe, and from Chris Price out there in Shannon, thank you, lads. And until we meet again, good evening and take care.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye, guys.